Hello and welcome back to the When You're podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today I want to talk about when you're watching The Invitation. The Invitation stars Nathalie, Emmanuel, Tom Doherty, Stephanie Corneliussen, Hugh Skinner, and Alana Boden. Spoilers for The Invitation. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It'll definitely give you a good laugh. This is a horror movie. It's supposed to be a horror movie. And I was laughing and smiling so much throughout this whole thing. I mean, there are certain moments where you're just like, you understand that the horror trope of it, you understand like the theme and the style and the whole aesthetic of it, you know, you understand all of it. But it's still like, I find horror movies so funny because I can't fathom it. And this movie just completely... It was so funny to me. I had a good time. So I'm watching this movie, and right off the bat, I immediately noticed the main girl, the Nathalie. She plays this American woman who's living in New York City, and I had no idea who she was. I couldn't place my finger on it. And I was trying to remember exactly who she reminded me of or what movie she had been in or show or whatever. And it wasn't until after I saw the movie, after the fact, I looked her up, and she was in the Fast and Furious movie. She plays that girl who has the eye. She was the creator of God's Eye or whatever in the movie or something like that. And so I was like, that's where I know her from. She definitely looked familiar, and she's British, I believe. So seeing her play as an American was really what threw me off the most. I'm so used to, seeing her with her hair all big and in an afro style, curly, very curly, as opposed to, I guess it was kind of in this movie, but not as much. It was really the accent that threw me off the most. Because she seemed American, but she's actually... But anyways, the premise of this movie, if you don't know, all right, you can just do a simple, Google, figure out what the premise of this movie is. But this woman takes a DNA test. Now, nothing good comes out of taking a DNA test. The worst things imaginable happen when you take a DNA test. And this is an example of it. So she's working as a waitress in New York City, and she's serving high-class members or whatever. And her friend, the only smart one, the only real intelligent person throughout this whole movie, is sidelined. She's like a cameo. She barely has any screen time. But she snags her friend a DNA test and is like, take it, let's see what happens. So she takes the DNA test, and I can't tell you how dumb this woman is. She takes the DNA test, and she's kind of like, whatever, I'll just do it. She takes the DNA test, and immediately she gets hit up by this random white guy. And he's like, hey, cuz, we're related. It would be an honor if we met up with each other. Let's meet. Let's be friends. Let's catch up with family. And so she's like, I don't really know this guy. It's kind of weird. We have nothing in common. He's supposed to be my family, but I have no idea who he is or what it's about or what this or that is going to be. So she does what any reasonable woman living in a large city after she just took a DNA test and is being proposed by her cousin to meet up for the first time, and she's never met this guy. She meets up with him at a fancy restaurant. And he starts talking to her about, oh my gosh, family. I love family. The whole family loves family. And we miss family. We need more family. Blah, 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 blah. All about family. And how he's connected to her and how he's happy to see her. And she's like, wow, I have no family. My parents are dead. I have only one friend here in the city. And I'm trying to make a living for myself and become an artist like my mom. And he's just like, well, that sucks, but life moves on. Anyways, there's this wedding that you should definitely come to. It's in England. and we have very, very wealthy amount of money, and we're not at all in any way given shape or form evil or bad, and so suddenly throwing our whole lives in front of your face. And she's like, initially she does the smart thing and she says, no, I couldn't, let's not go there, how about we just chill, we're just getting to know each other. And he's like, no, the whole family would be excited to see you, we miss you, we want to embrace you with open arms. And you're just like, well, if the whole family wants me there, then I might as well take a vacation. So she does what she does, and she goes with him to England, London, wherever they are, and they go to this very big mansion, this very big estate. And I gotta tell you, the actor who plays her cousin, Hugh Skinner, oh my gosh, he really sells this performance well. He's very quick. He's quick to be charming and kind and nice. And right off the bat, as soon as she gets there, she's like marveled by the mansion. And then all of a sudden, she bumps into this butler that's like treating they're like maids of the house. They're, they clean, they move all this, they're maids, whatever. And I guess they got a new batch that day or whatever. She bumps into the maids. And they drop glasses and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This sucks, huh? And they were like, it's okay. The girls are really nice to each other. And then the butler comes and she's just like, gets offended really easily and quickly. And then, wouldn't you know it, Thomas Doherty. Doherty? Doherty. Thomas, whatever. Thomas. This guy comes in and he's very Twilight. He's like Robert Pattinson in Twilight. He's very mysterious but soft-spoken and charming. And he's rich. He's the owner of the mansion. He's the owner of the whole estate. And he's supposed to be very young and very, very sexy, very appealing. He's supposed to be that guy. The charming, rich guy that nobody ever is like, this guy's not evil. He's single and he's rich and he has this big family life and whatever. And so she goes to this wedding. I don't know why in any world would they expect me to like really believe in this. Like, if I took a DNA, which I never would do, I would never take a DNA test. But if I did, and I found out I have some secret long lost cousins, that come from old money in England, I'd be like, yo, that ain't for me. That's not what my life had planned. If it were planned for that, I would have gotten that. But instead, I'm living this life. I'm going to accept the world that was given to me. But instead, she does this whole other thing. Anyways, back to the plot. Back to this ridiculous story that's supposed to be frightening and horrifying. But we're getting there. It's a build-up. It takes its time. Really takes its time building up onto the suspense. So she does what any normal woman does, and she develops a crush on Thomas, on the main guy, the white dude. And she's asking her cousin if they're related, and she's kind of like starting to meet the whole family and whatnot. And this guy is so good. He literally goes to her room late at night, and he's just like, listen, I wanted to apologize for my butler. I hope he didn't offend you. And she's just like, yeah, well, he did, He offended me. I'm offended. And he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I'll go talk to that guy. He's old and he's evil. But are we cool? And she's like, yeah, we're cool. Things are all right. So she does what any woman decides to do on a late night, and she goes for a run. At least I think that's when she decides. Anyways, she decides to go for like this run in the middle of the night. And horror movie 101 is you never go anywhere alone. And 2, you don't go, this is a random mansion. And she's never run here before. Like, she doesn't know the whole area. Why in the world would she decide to get up and go for a run late at night? She's a psychopath. In the morning, I understand. Maybe it's dark in the morning. She wakes up and she's like, let me get my exit. Let me get my run. My early morning pump. Get that runner's high. Practicing for when I need to run away. But instead, she does it late at night. And I really don't understand it. I really cannot tell you how much simpler life would be if people were just boring, if they didn't care about money, if they didn't care about class or family or wealth, things would be so much better for this woman. So eventually, as the wedding ceremony and all the plans and preparations are going on, she's meeting more and more of the family, and she's spending more and more time with Thomas. Thomas, the main guy, the dude. And you see him interacting with all the family members. He's very kind. He's very generous. He's very like, oh, please, let me help you out here. And let's dance. And let's go mingle and talk and do whatever. And eventually they're in the middle of a dance. Everybody's looking at them and they're dancing. And he just whispers in her ear. And he goes, hey, you want to get out of here? And she's like, of course I want to get out of here. Everybody's staring at me. Everybody treats me like I'm some weirdo, some crazy woman who just showed up out of nowhere. So she goes with him, and they go to this private study, and they start talking to each other. Mind you, they had just met each other. This is they've only known each other for a day, and they had some late night talking. And now they're doing it again at this party late at night. And they're talking about nothing, talking about, her mom and her family and all this other stuff. And he's talking about his high society problems of, oh, I'm so rich, but it holds me down. It doesn't hold you down. You're evil. And we know it. But this girl, this woman, I wish that, I could strangle her and be like, listen, he's playing you. But, you can't do that. And it's just wrong. So I keep my mouth shut, I'm watching it, and they're talking to each other, and this man has the audacity. He looks at her, and he's just like, yeah, when were you gonna kiss me? And she was like, what? What are you talking about? I haven't been thinking about kissing you or anything like that. And then he goes, yeah, you have. Yeah, you have. You wanted to. She was on the phone with her friend, FaceTiming him while she was talking to him late at night about the butler, and the friend was like, listen, you haven't had any in a long time. You need to get some. You need to get some of that rich Thomas D. You need to. That's what you have to do. If you don't do it, you will have failed me. So she's a brilliant mind. And she kisses him. And as she kisses him, fireworks shoot off into the sky. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is such a cliche. But you know what? They go for it. They give each other a kiss. And then they go off to bed. La, la, la. And when she goes to sleep at night, she has crazy nightmares. She's completely... She wakes up in a sweat, in a panic, and she's just kind of stuck there on her bed. And she sees something clawing through the ceiling or through the fabric that's over her bed or whatever. It's clawing through. And she's scared. She's out of her mind. She's like, no, stop. She rolls out and she knocks a lamp over or breaks it. And she notices all kind of creepy stuff going on throughout the house. And everybody tells her, oh, it's nothing. Don't be paranoid. It's all right. The guy, Thomas's character comes in and he's like, are you all right? Oh, my goodness. Everything's okay. Everything's all right. Man, you were so scared. You were frightened. Is everything all right? And she's like, no, not everything's all right. There's some creepy stuff going on in here. And he's just like, it's nothing to worry about. I will stay with you all night and let you sleep. And she's just like, oh, okay. Dude, this guy, if he wasn't so evil, this would be, this is a true romance, such a quick, this is one of those Hallmark Christmas movies. If it wasn't horror, if there was no horror involved and you put this in a Christmas theme setting, you would be like, oh my gosh, but it's not. All right, this is a horror movie and there are some real stakes going on here. it's dancing around everything, and they're trying to like make you think of the relationship as real, but it's not. So he stays with her all night. He doesn't try anything. Can you believe that? Can you honestly believe that guy would stay with her all night and wouldn't try anything? I mean, all right, whatever. So he writes her a note, as all great people do, British, with perfect calligraphy. And he writes, "You look so peaceful sleeping. I thought I'd let you sleep in. Get ready in the get ready when you wake up and come meet me. I want to show you some stuff." And so after that, they start spending more and more time together. And the girl starts witnessing a lot more creepy stuff, a lot more weird things happening. And so she has to spend the day with these two girls played by Alana Boden and Stephanie Corneliussen. And they're supposed to be, I guess, cousins or aunts and nephews of aunts, nieces of somebody else in the family. So they're related, is what I'm trying to get at. They're in some way, shape, or form related to one another. And so she has to spend the day with them, getting ready for the wedding. Like, I guess it's like the night of the wedding or the ceremony and whatnot. And they go to like the spa, they go to the pool, the whole deal. And while they're there, they're kind of talking or whatever, and you see like the tension rising more and more and more between her and the girls that she's with. And then they're like getting a manicure. They show this through a manicure. And she's getting a manicure done by this woman, by this crazy woman. And she's clipping her nails, and they're like filing them. They're clipping the nails, filing them, painting them, clipping, clip, 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 clip. And as the tension rises more, the more clips and the silence grows louder and louder, until eventually they clip her nail, and it starts bleeding. They cut it, and it's like, oh my goodness, what? And one of the girls, Stephanie, played by Stephanie, the actress's name is Stephanie. She's like naked in the pool, in like the hot tub or whatever. And she emerges, and she's like, "Hey, let me take a look at that cut on your finger, that blood." And so she takes the finger, and she puts the whole finger in her mouth, and she like sucks out the blood, and everybody's like, and the girl's, Nathalie's character's like, what'd you do that for? And she's like laughing. She's like, ha ha ha, oh, I was only teasing. I was only teasing with my naked body and me sucking your finger of blood. And you're just like, what is going on? What happened? What is everything leading up to? And so from that moment, she goes up to her room and she's like, I'm getting out of here. I don't care about this wedding. I'm leaving, which is the smart thing to do. You live the high life for a little bit and then you bounce. You leave. You leave early. And so Thomas's character, very sweetly, very charmingly, comes up to her room and is like, don't leave. You should stay with me. Everything's okay. They can be pretty mean. But you know me. I'm kind, sweet Thomas. You will stay. Please stay. And she's like, I don't want to stay. And then he goes, well, if I kiss you, will you change your mind? And so he kisses her, and then they make sweet love off camera. They don't show you any of the good stuff, but they do let you know that it goes down. It goes down, and they do it until the nighttime. They go all the way until it gets dark outside, and he decides, listen, we got to get down there. We're going to be late for the big dinner and the big announcement and whatnot. And so she's like, okay, sweetie, I will go down there with the new dress you bought me. I mean, this is insane. And this has all been leading up to this one dinner. And so she's like, where? She comes in. She's the last person to arrive, obviously. And Thomas is seated at the end of the table. All the family is around. And he starts giving this speech. He starts talking about stuff. And Nathalie's character goes, Where's the bride and the groom? And then Thomas goes, exactly. I am going to be marrying you. And she's like, what? I don't want to this is too soon. We just did it. I met you 2 days ago. What's going on? And so he goes, we're getting married, everybody, as you know. And we all deserve a delicious meal, a delicious feast. Let's kill tonight. So he does what anybody else does. And he instructs his butler to take over one of the maids and to slit her throat. And it's all over a bowl. And it's like fruit punch. It's just gushing. And Nathalie is like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And that is when it is revealed that these people are vampires. Their teeth start showing. Their fangs start coming out. And you're like, oh my gosh, how could you not see it? I knew from the very beginning they were vampires. It's very obvious. It's very easy to tell. But they don't glow. They don't glisten in the sunlight like, Edward Cullen. They're just regular, everyday folks. And so the whole point of this, inviting her to the wedding, was so that way Thomas's character could drink her blood and they could be united in holy matrimony to join all of the families together. And it will enrich them all with the mighty strength of vampires. They will be strong and healthy and capable of living on for thousands of more years. So Nathalie, eventually, she tries to escape. She has some help from one of her friends, who was actually her mom's friend, that she also ran away because she didn't want to be part of the family, and she had an affair with somebody else, and that's how the girl came to be, and she lived in New York City, and they didn't know where she was or how to find her. And so, I think the mom really messed up there by not telling her daughter that her family is literally vampires. Like, that was a pretty big misstep. I feel like you definitely should have shared that information, or at least written it down and passed it on to your daughter. Just like, avoid our family. Do not search them out. They're vampires, and they will siphon you of your blood. So Nathalie decides, she tries to run away from Thomas and try to not become a vampire and marry him. But she ends up getting captured. She can't escape. They have every corner, every place she could ever run to. They're all friends of the family. They're all vampires too in some way or form. So she eventually gets captured again. She gets put into a wedding dress. She gets nailed into a coffin, opened up, and then she has to marry the guy. And it is in that time they finally consume one another's blood. She's like, sucks this man's veins. And she's like, she really goes for it. She really just like digs in. And as she drinks his blood, she turns into a vampire. She's like, I am a vampire. And it is with her newfound vampire powers that she attacks the family. She kills Thomas, the actor who plays the main guy. She kills him. And she's like, I will burn everything to the ground. She starts a big fire. And the whole house is burning, burning, burning. And so the girls that were with her during the spa were like, we have to kill her. We have to stop her. She can't be allowed to do this anymore. And so they're fighting her. And then one of the girls turns on the other. And they start fighting each other. And now you're like, oh, it's a vampire battle. And in the end, they end up killing each other, the two vampires. One of them turned righteous and good, and so she started fighting the other one. And Nathalie had to face off against, I think it was Thomas at the end. And she finally kills him, and she turns back into a human, and she escapes. Happily ever after, right? You think that's the end of it. You think the world is okay now. But she actually has to kill the rest of the family, but she's not a vampire anymore. She doesn't have her strength. She doesn't have her powers. She's not as fast or as agile as she could be. So she does what people do, and that is you get a friend to help you kill people. So the one smart friend who she had, she recruits her and is like, listen, these people are vampires and we got to kill them with these baseball bats. And she's like, so that's your cousin? The one that started this whole thing? The one that invited you over to the party? Yeah, let's kill him. And then the movie ends. That's how the movie ends. The whole thing is literally a small and slow gradual build-up to what we already know about the movie, is that these people are vampires. That's how this guy is so young and able to have this amazing estate and mansion and all of this money. And you can't understand how crazy this is. But, hey, I get it. It's horror. And I get it. And there was a bunch of other creepy stuff. Like, they were attacking the maids. Like, I guess they brought them in for sacrifices, maybe. They're like, you're going to clean up the house, but we're actually going to sacrifice you. So that way you can feed the master vampire. And whatnot. So, the movie ends, and she's going on this killing spree with her friend. It's not a killing spree, it's revenge. It's a revenge killing for trying to turn into a vampire and, like, keep her in a life that she doesn't want to live. So, it's kind of empowering. It's a movie of female empowerment at the end of the day, and getting back for what was done to them by men. So, that's what this movie's really about. And I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing in the theater. I was smiling. I was like, what is going on? I was just... You have to watch it for yourselves to know what I'm talking about. But even with the spoilers, you still have to watch it. Even if you like hear me talk about it, you need to see it for yourself and be like, oh, this is what he was talking about. Because I was kind of all over the place with this one. But there was just so much. You can't really be like scared by this movie. This movie isn't scary. If you're scared of this movie, I don't think you understand like how scary things can be. Because this isn't scary. This is hilarious. This is so funny. And that's it's my assessment of the movie. So, go check it out for yourselves. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been another episode of the Win Your Podcast. I'll see you guys all next time. Thank you.